Hello friends, welcome to the new video of Tech Miracles. In the last video, we developed the presentation layer, business layer and the data layer layout of a simple three-tier architecture. In this video, we go through the coding section of these layers. That is, through the code, we can connect these three layers. First, we create some methods in business layer and the methods in data layer to connect the application to the database. Each method will explain in the time of its use. First, we open business layer class, business layer.cs. Then, inside the business layer class, we place some methods. I create some methods in business class that I will explain in the time of its use. Then select the class data layer. Inside the class data layer, we also create some methods. That methods are connected to the database. That methods we use to connect application to the database. For the database connection, we use a library using system dot data. Another one using system dot data dot SQL client. Then again using system dot configuration. Then we go to the coding section of web forms. First, login.aspx. In login.aspx page, there are two buttons, sign up and sign in button. Sign up button is for registering the new user. Double click on the sign up button, leads to the coding section of login.aspx page. We get login.aspx.cs. Inside the button click of sign up button, response.redirect inside the parenthesis and inside the double quotes registration.aspx. This is the code for redirecting registration.aspx web form. Then double click on the sign in button. Inside the sign in button's click event, we create two string variables, username and password. Inside username, we store the value of text box, username equal to txt underscore username dot text. That is the value of text box username. Inside the string password, txt underscore password dot text. That is the value of text box password. And we check this is the username and password are admin. That is the username and password of admin. If it is admin, then inside the if block, two session variables are declared, session username and session password. Inside session username value is stored. Inside the session password value is stored. And clear the text box values, username.txt equal to null, txt username.text equal to null, and response.redirect admin home. That is, username and password are admin. Store the both values of username and password inside the sessions and redirect the page to the admin home. Then we create a object for business layer. That is business layer. Business layer is the class name of business layer class. Business underscore layer objbl equal to new business underscore layer. Objbl is the object of business layer. If it is a registered user, that user have an ID. We can access that ID from database using username and password. Then for getting that ID, we call a method from business layer, that is id equal to objbl dot select id is the name of that method. Username and password are the arguments we passed from this page. Then the method call is go to the business layer and select the corresponding method public int select id string username string password. Here we get the username and password. We enter in the text boxes, and then here also another method called return id, that is the id we get from the database. Here again one object, that object is the object of data layer. That layer is connected this application to the database. Data layer objbl equal to new data layer. Objdbl is the object of the data layer. Here we get the id from objdbl dot select id username and password. Both these username and password are passing through this method select id. There also a object called as select id objdbl. That is the method of data layer class. Then the call to data layer. This is the method select id. In this method, SQL connection object is established here. SQL connection obj SQL con equal to new SQL connection con. Private string con is equal to configuration manager dot connection string demo underscore registration reg connection string. This is our connection string name that is declared in this the web config. Here we establish the connection string public int id. Here is a public array string array. This string array is declared public string square bracket string array's name is a equal to new string of 10 and another string variable name. This is our connection. This connection string, using this connection string con, we establish the connection object obj SQL connection. Using the we select value from b underscore registration. The SQL query is string SQL is equal to select id from db underscore registration, where username equal to username and password, and then SQL cmd equal to new SQL cmd. SQL query SQL is executed in this SQL command. cmd.connection is equal to obj SQL connection. Obj SQL connection is open. Then using SQL data reader, cmd.execute reader, reader.read id is equal to convert.toInt32 reader of id. This id is in our, then our id is stored in this integer variable id, and obj SQL con.close, our SQL connection is closed and the id is returning from here. We receive this id in this id. This id is in business layer class. This id is also returning from this method to the login.aspx class. Then here we get the id of this username and password. If this id not equal to 0, that means that user is existed. Then username and password are stored in the session variables username and password, and clear the test box values and redirect to the user's home page. This is the coding of login.aspx page. Today's video is concluding here. Thank you. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you very much.